be roughly equivalent to a median house price in the U.S., which is around $200,000, then I think the probability of establishing a self-sustaining civilization is very high.
Well, that's science fiction right there. That's SpaceX CEO Elon Musk. Clara Moskowitz is with us, the senior editor at Scientific America. Good morning, Clara.
Good morning.
Explain what's going on here.
So yesterday, Elon Musk, the head of SpaceX, unveiled this extremely ambitious plan, not just to fly people to Mars, but to colonize Mars. So he is envisioning a spacecraft that can send about 100 people at a time over to the Red Planet. He's got the whole thing planned out. He expects to spend about $10 billion to develop this thing, and he even thinks he can launch within 10 years.
How long is it going to take to get to Mars?
Well, that's another really interesting part of his plan. He claims that his spacecraft can make the trip in just 80 days, compared to the usual 6 to 9 months that it takes current spacecraft to get over there.
So it's going to be 80 days there, and then you got to walk around for a while. You got to go swimming and see some of the sights, so that's a couple days. And then you get 80 days back, so that's a good 6 months. How much is this going to cost us, Clara?
He thinks about $200,000 per person.
So you have to bring the family. So we're looking at a couple of $100,000. We're looking at $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 to bring a couple of family members along because you don't want to go by yourself. Clara, is this science fiction or is this legit?
It's somewhere in between. The whole idea is not just to take a vacation on Mars, but to actually move there. He wants to establish humanity out in the solar system. And while it's probably the most ambitious plan I've ever heard, it's also inspiring. It could happen. Here's hoping.
But does he have the technology? Is the science available for him to do this?
He has the seeds of the technology, yes. I mean, certainly none of these things exist right now. He would have to develop them all. But he has the current rocket that he's built, the Falcon 9, is going to be the basis for all of this. And he has a plan for scaling that rocket up to create the largest rocket ever built, ever designed. And, while there certainly could be some bumps along the road, it's not outrageous that it could work.
Yeah. He can't just bring peanuts on a flight to Mars, right? He's got to have meals and water and bathrooms and showers and sleeping arrangements for 100 people. Just the weight alone for 100 people for 80 days, right? I mean, just the simple math of that, this has got to be a high-powered rocket.
Exactly. This is completely unprecedented. He's also talking about having movie theaters and restaurants on these spacecraft. So, it's going to be a nice ride if it ever exists.
Yeah. Is there internet access on Mars now?
Not quite yet.
What about regulatory approval? Does the governments, anybody on Earth, have to sign off on this before he can do it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's a little bit up in the air. There isn't clear space law. It's there's been a treaty that nobody can own space, but nobody said anything about whether you can fly people over there and start setting up colonies. So it's going to be something that we all have to work out as a planet.
Is he taking reservations right now?
Not yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did soon.
And when is he saying this is going to be?
So he plans to try to launch the first ship within 10 years, about 2024, if all goes well. And he's going to have test launches of very scaled-down basic systems starting in a couple of years.
The question is who's going to be the first on their way to Mars? Clara Moskowitz, senior editor of Scientific America. Clara, thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
740 here, Big 5.